Welcome to Turkey, and of course welcome to CNBC Turkey. Let's talk a little bit about coaching today, which is an overused term by many standards. What is exactly coaching and who benefits from this exactly, Margo?
Coaching is a term that we use when we say that we're helping other people find their own solutions. So actually anybody can benefit from coaching, but it's mostly used by managers, executives, leaders of all levels in organizations.
What's the use of these benefits in Turkey, may I say, Arzum?
Of course, it's relatively new in Turkey, this profession, but it's a young profession anyway in the whole world. So in Turkey, it's quite similar, and it's mostly used in corporate arena for now. So most leaders and managers, they are using that in order to develop their abilities of leadership and get to the next levels of their business life and career. It's very useful in terms of career development and leadership development.
How different is coaching from consulting or advising someone?
There are overlaps for sure, but the main difference is that consulting and advising is really telling people, from my experience, here's what you should do. Coaching, on the other hand, is helping the person unlock their own solutions to find what they already know and use it to their best interest, rather than being told what to do.
Would it be better to work one-on-one or in teams, according to your expertise?
There are different needs, actually.
Right.
In some cases, it's really useful and very important to be able to work one-on-one, in cases like leadership development. If you are a relatively young leader or a leader who's taken a challenge at some point in their career, so it's useful really to support them on one-to-one. But teams benefit a lot from coaching as well, and it's about the team relationship and how they can create better, more conscious and intentional relationship in order to have more productivity in their teams. So two different ways to use it.
When you say coaching without borders, is it easy to be a coach?
Oh, good question.
Do you need to be certified? What do you need to know exactly in order to call yourself a coach?
Yeah, well, coaching, I find it to be complete joy. Sometimes I have a hard time believing that this is my job, because it's really so fulfilling to work with
I can
people.
relate to that.
Yeah, and helping them find their best version of themselves. But it was hard work to get to have the certification. The program that I went through was an intensive one-year program, which was a lot of personal work. What I didn't expect from that was how many personal benefits I would get in learning how to become a coach, to sort out my own problems and sort out my own patterns and understand myself better. So there's a variety of certification programs available, and the one that I did was about 1 year.
What's the level of awareness about this in Turkey, actually?
About the certification programs?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's improving every day. But when I started, like about 8 years ago, people were not pretty much aware about certification and an accreditation system of this profession, actually. But now in the corporate world, I can speak for the corporate world, as I'm working mostly in corporate arena. Pretty much everyone is aware that there is such a thing called certification, accreditation for coaches, and you need to really choose your coaches very carefully and be sure that they have needed certification levels for their clients.
Margo, you've mentioned that this could help with career building, and I'm wondering how that could come into play in leadership development.
Yeah.
Who's a leader exactly? Anyone who gets followed, or a manager, or a top executive? How would you define it?
Good question. Well, a leader officially lots of times is the person who has direct reports.
Right.
But the way that we look at leadership development is anyone can be a leader. It takes leadership of oneself in order to find a followership. And leader usually isn't a title that we're given on our business card. It's something that we earn when people decide they want to follow us, when they feel inspired by us.
Yeah.
That's when we actually become a leader. So it doesn't have to be a formal title, and leadership development and coaching can be for anyone that decides they want to be the best version of themselves and go out and make a change in the world.
And when you say make a change in the world, you guys travel a lot, actually, you know, trying to actually coach leaders from multinational companies globally. What has been your experience like since you have started this business?
Well, I started 8 years ago doing coaching and training for actually MBA students at the very beginning, and then moved on to the
Leaders of
corporate
the
world.
future, so to speak.
Leaders of the future, exactly, and helping them find their path, find out what they wanted to do in the world. And then I moved on to the corporate training world, and I deliver programs in Asia, in the US, in Europe, for a variety of multinational organizations. And those are usually leadership development courses developed by the corporations, where I come in and deliver the work. And I also do work that Arzum and I do together where we develop our own leadership development programs and deliver that to the public.
What's the experience like in Turkey, do you think, compared to all the other countries that you've been in where you've seen this in practice?
That's always amazing because, of course, there are cultural differences, but in coaching and leadership development, in the way that we work with people, we really work with the authentic core selves of people, the truth of them. So when it comes to the truth of human, it actually quite similar everywhere. It is quite similar everywhere. And then when you get connected with people from that core self of themselves, you do see that they have the same needs, same dreams, same values, and same fears eventually.
Yeah.
So it's similar in some ways, and of course there are cultural differences that you need to be aware to some extent in order to create a certain connection at the very beginning.
For leadership development, of course, MBA is probably a good place to start, and then leadership coaching is, of course, another thing to give a serious consideration about. But when we're talking about cultural differences and so on, for example, do you feel like people are more reluctant to admit that they require coaching, or do they admit it proudly that they are actually getting professional advice, or at least a way to follow on this? Or do you feel like there's any difference in demographic when it comes to men and women, when it comes to approaching coaching?
Yeah, great questions. It's definitely something that is becoming more and more a badge of honor. Companies are investing in their top leaders. They're giving them coaching because they realize, okay, if we want to get the absolute most potential from this person, we need to help them unlock their own strengths and understand themselves better. And also, of course, be self-aware so that they're out there managing people and they know the impact that they're having on the people around them.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes in the past people would say, oh, coaching, is that a bad thing? Does that mean that I'm broken and need to be fixed? Does that mean that I have a problem that needs to be solved? Nowadays it's actually who has talent is getting coaching to become even more powerful or more, successful.
What's it like in Turkey?
Well, it's improving in the same ways internationally, and there is this fact about Turkey, though. In Turkey, coaching is still a expensive level investment in people.
Yeah.
So high level peoples are getting more chance to be coached.
Yeah.
So that's a badge of honor really in Turkey, because you are really someone invested, valued in that company. They're investing in you, and you'll have a support along your way as you walk this difficult path and edgy path in many ways in the corporate world. So yeah, people are getting used to have coaches, but of course there are difficulties about that. It depends how you present them what coaching is.
Well, of course, on CNBC Turkey, we talk a lot about investments
Yeah.
and alternatives for investments all
Exactly.
day. And since I have you both here, why don't I sort of invest in myself a
Yeah.
little bit
Yes.
and give our viewers a chance of what it feels like to be
Yeah.
coached briefly.
Yeah.
Why don't you each ask me a question, for example, of how you would
Yeah.
coach me,
Okay.
but very briefly since
Very
we have
briefly.
limited time.
Of
Of course,
course.
coaching is a brief thing actually.
It can be.
It doesn't need to be that long.
That's right. Good.
All
So,
right.
shall I begin?
Don't let me sweat too much.
Well, what's one thing that really keeps you up at night?
Well, I have a way of actually, pseudo sleeping and, solving some of the problems of the day in my sleep so I can do better the next day, or try not to act emotionally on something and be more rational the next day. So I sort of utilize my sleep maybe in a bad way, that way, without actually getting the sleep that I
Right.
need, probably.
So you're processing stuff during the night when you should be resting sometimes.
You could definitely say that.
That's something that a lot of us have, yeah.
Yeah.
Hearing you, I'm curious about what's more important than your sleep in your life?
Well, my job is usually about keeping myself up to date and contributing to people's lives in a
Yeah.
meaningful way. So that probably is, and of course the ambition to maybe excel in what I do and whatnot. So
Learning and growth and development is important to you.
yeah. So fingers crossed on that one. But one more way people actually can feel what it feels like to be coaching is actually through the workshops that you have in Turkey and in Switzerland.
Yeah.
I think you have one coming up very recently. So can you tell us briefly about that? What
Yeah.
are the headlines on that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Whole Leadership is a program that we developed for people who, whether they have direct reports or not, people who want to develop themselves and get into a place where their leadership is even more potent, more powerful. And what we looked at is finding a balanced way of leadership and expanding everybody's range. Lots of times, if we haven't done personal work, a difficult situation arises and we just react.
Yeah.
And we don't think first. We just go into default. And sometimes that's a good thing, and other times we find ourselves then in a situation that's not so good. So in whole leadership, we look at broadening the range of responses that all of us have available to any one difficult situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is happening on the 1st and 2nd of November.
Exactly.
And where is it going to be, and when is the next one, in case we miss this one?
Okay, this will be in Istanbul, in Beyoğlu, a nice place in Istanbul actually to be in, and next one will be in March again in Istanbul. Next
So
March.
we look forward to getting more and more informed about the subject, and hopefully, sleeping over things would be maybe one of the solutions that you can recommend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you so much also for enlightening me on coaching, and thank you for letting our viewers know what it feels like. Thank you so much,
Thank you for
and
having us.
best of luck. Let's hope you'll get many, many participants to the workshop here in Istanbul.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for joining us.
Okay.